Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Edge, the EY Technology Innovation Hub. My name is Mr. Korb, and I am Eastern York's Technology Innovation Specialist, and today we're going to be jumping right into animation. There's an awesome open source animation tool out there that's called OpenToonz, which is entirely free, by the way, and I'm going to walk you through a quick setup and demo to make your first animated scene in this brand new episode of Tech This Out, Student Edition. Let's go. Alright, so it's time for us to take a look at OpenToonz, which again is a free open source software that you can download for Windows and Mac that you can start animating. So we're going to go ahead and open up a project. We're going to get our different windows set up. We're going to create our own rooms, which are set up in there, and then we're going to start going through animating frame by frame. I have a project that is somewhat started that we can dive right in. So I would just want to give you some tips and tricks, and you can start creating some animation right away. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open OpenToonz. And first it's going to ask you for a scene name. Okay, so the scene name in this case is just going to be Tech This Out. Sounds good. Click Create Scene. So it creates a scene, and let me show you the default view. And there are a ton of different things going on the screen. But this gets a little bit busy, and I want to set it up in a way that makes it intuitive and makes it easier for you as a student to understand and use the program. So to do that, we are going to head up to the top right-hand corner where it says Drawing, Cleanup, Palette, Ink, Ink and Pen. We have Animation, we have Schematic. So there are all these different views. But we are going to create our own view, or our own room. So you can right click on it, and we are going to click on New Room. So we head to Room, and you'll see that it is blank. There is nothing there. So to get started, pulling in some of these windows that we're going to be using, like the scene, like the palette, like the levels, and some of the other tools, we are going to head up to Windows. And in the windows, one thing to make sure first, just to start out, we're going to lock these back up then, is to click the checkbox that says Lock Room Panes. So if I uncheck that, now I'm able to drag some new windows across the page. And the first one we are going to grab is the Viewer. So I'm going to click on Viewer, and that's going to open up the page. I'm just going to go ahead and drag it to the top, and you see the red lines showing around. And that will full screen it. So I can see this is my canvas that I'm going to be working in. So that one again was the Viewer. So we are clicking on Viewer, it's being drug in, you just drag it to the top and it pops up in full screen. And now we're going to add all the other toolbars and such that we are going to use. We need a way to distinguish between our colors. So we are going to grab the Style Editor first. So the Style Editor. And that allows us to select any color in the RGB range and hex colors as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that over to the side, and you will see that it turns red, and it will just sort of force itself into the side window. Again, we just pull it over to the side until the side turns red, and it'll lock it right into that side. Windows. Next, again, we are going to grab the next color, which is the palette. Which is really, really helpful because what it does is it saves colors that you used in previous scenes so you can automatically draw over. Think of the way that you're going to use this as almost like a flip book. So if you ever made flip book cartoons where you grab a whole bunch of pieces of paper and in the corner you draw like a little stick figure running across the screen or doing all sorts of things, that's what we are going to try and recreate digitally, because when you string those all together in things called keyframes, frame by frame, and you play those together in sequence, frames per second, you will see this cool animation come to life on your screen, and that's what we were doing. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to stick it right above this cleanup palette here. So right up above, you'll see a little red line, little faint little red line, and I'm going to drag this down so I just see this a little bit better. So you now have, and I can drag this over a little bit so we have a little bit smaller of a screen. But you see we have no styles, and we haven't really selected colors because we haven't started drawing anything yet. So then that's where we need the toolbar. So we are going to go to Windows once again. We're going to click on Toolbar, and these are all of your tools that you're going to end up using in your program. I'm just going to show you just a couple to get us started, and then you'll be able to open up a bunch more and explore those later on. But we have our toolbar now set up, and the last thing that we want is a way that we can control the keyframes and how long an image stays on the screen. And that is going to be, again, in Windows, and we are going to go down to something called the X sheet. The X sheet. And we are going to drag it down to the bottom until it locks into place underneath everything. And then we're going to drag this up a little bit. And I don't like the column view. I like the horizontal view. It just makes a little bit more sense. And there's a little rotate icon that allows me to rotate it. So all I see is all the frames going across the bottom of the screen, which I think is a little bit more user-friendly and a little easier to see as you start exploring some of these pieces. So if I now start animating, I can go frame by frame and animate everything along the way. But before we do that, you want to make sure that you head back up to Windows, Workspace, and lock the room pane so you don't accidentally grab one and move it around. It'll just throw everything off. You might get a little confused along the way. But this is the basic setup. So now we can start animating on the screen. So we have our pen tool. We're going to start using that first. So let's go ahead and why don't we draw maybe a stick figure just for fun. And then I'll show you a different project later on. So we're going to go ahead and draw a stick figure. So I have my circle for the head. I'm going to draw his body. It's not the best. I'm just doing it with a mouse right now, which is okay. Here's my stick figure. And boop. Whoop, boop. And boop. Okay, so nothing crazy, but we have this stick figure now, and that is currently in frame 1. So if I were to play this scene overall, nothing would happen because that's the only character that I have. So imagine you had one piece of paper that you're trying to flip to see something happen, nothing happens. So say that you want this stick figure to last a little bit longer on the screen before you move to the next transition in the animation. So you are going to head down to your window down here, which is your frames that you have across the bottom. And you are going to drag it to the number 2. That'll keep it on the screen for 2 frames. So boop, boop. That's like having 2 pieces of paper, same drawing on both ones. So the longer that you want an animation to stay on the screen, the longer the frames they need to be. Now, if I want to add something new to the scene, so change this character to maybe he is waving his arm back and forth. So I want him to wave his arm without the rest of his body moving. I have to go to a new keyframe. So if I go to the next one where there's an X down here at the bottom in this cell 3, I click on it. Oh no, my dude's gone. And I have to recreate him with his arm moving. But how are you going to do that when you can't see the character on the screen? And that's where we are going to open up Onion View. And if you think about Shrek, if you've ever watched that video, ogres are like onions, right? They have layers. That was my best Shrek impression. You're welcome. So if I were to right click on the screen and go down to Activate Onion Skin, Activate Onion Skin, I can see the past 3 frames up until my current frame that I'm on. So anything that I draw now is like this new piece of paper that's up on top. So imagine this, like you had very thin pieces of paper where you're trying to trace over top, but change it just slightly onto the next paper. That's what we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and try and trace my character. Now it's not going to be even. It's not going to be the same unless you're using like a pen tool or you're using the shapes feature, which I use in a different video that I'm making. So as long as it's relatively close, it's just going to look like it's shaking a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy down the rest of the body. Makes it more human-like if it changes just slightly, right? Anyway, so we have the arm there, and I'm going to slightly lower the arm. And I'm going to go back down to my frame, so I have it drawn over top, and I'm going to drag this out for 2 frames. Again, I click on the next one, and now I can see the first image, the second image that I made, and now I'm going to make another layer over top of it, just like grabbing another piece of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and circle my dude. He's apparently getting a square jawline now, and that's okay. I'm going to make his arm just dip down slightly. Draw out the rest of his extremities. And I'm going to drag this out once again for another frame. Create a new frame, and we're just going to keep doing this. I'm going to speed up the video right now so you don't have to sit through me just trying to awkwardly draw this guy over and over and over again. So I'm going to speed it up right now. Okay, so I have my dude. When you're ready to check it, if you just go keyframe by keyframe, you can see the animation starting to form. However, if you don't want to see the onion view, you can just right click again and it says deactivate onion skin. You click on that. And now, if I were to go back to the very beginning, and if you look here, the visible pane that's open right up here across the top is going to be the view that you're going to see. So if I go to, uh-oh, I forgot his face. Oh no, keyframe 11, where's his face? All right, there we go. Now we have a guy with a face. All right, so now if you head up, there's this little play button. You can actually see the animation fly up on the screen. So not the best. I could take a little bit more time. I can use some shapes, which I'm going to show you in the next video, or further on in this video of a project that I already have. But you can see slowly this is the process of creating animation. So that was 16 frames worth, which lasted all of, what, 1 second. So it does take some time to generate this, but you can create some really cool animations along the way. Some other key features that I wanted to point out. Say that you have multiple colors that you want to use throughout your drawing. So say that there is, let me go back to keyframe 1. Let me say that there's a ball that's here. And I'm going to show you the geometry tools that we have. So geometric tool, you can actually select different shapes. So circle, rectangle, ellipse, line, polyline, arc, multi-arc, polygon. So you can make any shape that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a circle. And let's say that there is a ball that's over here. I create the ball. Now the outline right now is not very thick. So let's go ahead and make that a little bit thicker. By grabbing this tool again. Here's the ball. Say that you want to fill that ball in. There's a paint bucket tool. Just like any other paint editing software, if you click on the fill tool, you can actually grab a color. Now that will change all the colors there. I can actually choose a different color for my color palette. And let's go ahead and change that to red. So I have my paint bucket tool. I go over to my circle. Boom. I now have a red circle on the page. But what's cool about this palette section up here at the top left is that I can switch between my pre-used colors. So you don't have to try and go back and find the same color over and over again. It'll save as many colors as you set up. So say that I want to save a green color, I want to save a blue color, and I want to save a purple color. So now I have colors that are saved here that I can keep using over and over and over again in my design, my animation. So if I go to the next keyframe that I made and turn on onion view, activate onion view, I can see my circle over there. I'm going to go ahead and grab the black again because that was my outline. I'm going to get the closest thing I can to the same size, and that's why having shapes instead of just individual drawings is maybe a little bit easier, but you can do whatever you decide. Up here at the top, to move this object, I'm going to go ahead and select the select tool, this little arrow button. Now you don't click on it, you actually click and drag over the image. And you can move it slightly so it starts rolling towards this other person. And I wanted that fill again so I can fill in the circle. And now I have a ball between these frames. So a ball starts rolling towards my dude. So I head to keyframe 5 and I'm going to do the same thing. Paint bucket tool one more time, boom, and there we go. So now if I head back to frame 1, I'm going to turn off or deactivate onion view, and I'm going to press play. Play, play. And now I have a ball that's rolling across the screen. This guy's catching it at the end, and he's waving at the same time. So pretty talented stick figure, if I do say so myself. Let me go ahead and drag in. This is another project that I did. Another ball feature, but I wanted to show you the amount of frames that I have just in this one. So there are 72 frames in this case, and I think it spans all of maybe, I don't know, 3 seconds is the entirety of the video, but it turned out pretty cool because you start thinking about different aspects of real life and how to compare that and how to replicate that into animation. So like gravity, what effect does it have? What effect do you have on other objects around the world or around in your life? So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and this is what it looks like. The ball's going to drop, it's going to bounce, it's going to drop again, and then it's going to spin and roll off the screen. Here we go. So it's bouncing, bouncing, rolling, and there we go. So bouncing, and as you can see, that's that little flex in the ball that makes it look a little bit more like you're dropping like a tennis ball or something. And if you add some texture to that, add some more characteristics, add a background to it, you can start getting something that's really, really cool. Now, there are a ton of features on here. All I showed you was the select tool, the paintbrush tool, we have the shapes tool and the paint bucket tool. We also have text. We have ways that we were able to actually brush onto the screen. We have an eraser tool so you can erase things. And then there are a ton of other options, which is really, really when you start getting into in-depth, maybe I'll do another video that centers around animation a little bit more. So this is just your brief tutorial on OpenToonz, which is, again, a free program that you can use, that you can download onto any Windows or Mac device and install. And it's just an absolute blast to just interact with this animation content and create something from scratch like this. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment, but that's how you do a simple scene. And thank you for watching. Check this out.